PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa now holds a list of NDFP consultants who were ordered to be arrested by President Rodrigo Duterte. The PNP chief says they are now in possession of the warrants of arrest against the said consultants, so they may be arrested anytime. General De La Rosa has ordered the PNP CIDG to lead the arrest in cooperation with the Bureau of Immigration.
President has given the orders to arrest upon entry into the Philippine soil.
Yes, sir.
Ay, yung mga nakauwi, hanapin na lang natin dito at dito na-arrestuin sa Pilipinas.
Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre says the peace consultants of the National Democratic Front who participated in the peace talks with the government can be arrested if they have violated their bail conditions. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte has ordered the arrest of the peace consultants of the National Democratic Front following the suspension of the peace talks between the government and the communist rebels. The issue now is whether or not the 19 NDF consultants could be validly arrested, considering they were granted bail by the courts last August. The consultants, including spouses Benito and Wilma Chamzon, the alleged NPA leaders, were given temporary liberty to participate in the peace process. Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre says they can only be arrested if they violated their bail conditions.
Mapuporfit mo lang naman yung bail kung you violated the conditions of the bail. Otherwise, kung hindi pa nabe-break yung condition ng bail, then hindi mo na siguro sila ma-aresto.
A lawyer for the consultants, Attorney Edri Olalia, believes only the courts can order if they can be validly rearrested. He further stated that the government and the rebels already agreed that the temporary liberty of the consultants will be effective for the duration of the negotiations. Despite President Duterte's suspension of the negotiations, the parties has not terminated the peace talks, and hence his clients still enjoy immunity from arrest under the Joint Agreement on Safety and Immunity Guarantees, or JASIG. A lawmaker also says the arrest of the consultants will be illegal unless the court has already forfeited their bail.
Kung wala pa hong inisyo or hindi pa kinancel ng court ang bail ng isang detainee, no, na out on bail, then there is no reason for the military to arrest these consultants.
However, Secretary Aguirre said now that the talks are suspended, the consultants should voluntarily surrender and return to detention as a gesture of good faith. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
A lawmaker stresses that the erroneous arrest and detention of NDFP peace consultant Ariel Arbitrario could be a ground to file for an arbitrary detention complaint against authorities. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
From his arrest at a Task Force Davao checkpoint in Barangay Sirawan, Toril, Davao City, Ariel Arbitrario, a peace consultant of the National Democratic Front of the Philippines, and his companion Roderick Mamuyak remained inside the main office of the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group Region 11 the whole day. However, a lawmaker insists that the apprehension of Arbitrario was baseless. Anakpawi's party list representative Ariel Casilao said the bail released by the court for Arbitrario for him to be able to attend the peace talks is still in effect. Also, the peace consultant is protected by the Joint Agreement on Safety and Immunity Guarantees, or JASIG, which is still in effect up until the peace negotiations has officially been terminated.
While there was an initial statement of the President that suspending the negotiation, processes requires that it should be followed, one, to formally notify in writing the peace panel, both parties, the GRP and the NDFP, and of course notify the third-party facilitator, the Royal Norwegian Government. Within 30 days upon receipt of that notification, diyan pa po sana dapat ma-determinate formally yung negotiation. So we consider this kumbaga, a shortcut in violation of the processes.
Congressman Casilaw says the arrest and detention without legal basis is enough ground to file a complaint for arbitrary detention against authorities.
With regards to the statement of the President, while we understand under a very high tension and high emotional precedent or yung pretext ng kanyang statement is with emphasis doon sa galit niya, it should not be interpreted by security forces as an automatic, no, because may process yan.
The apprehension of Arbitrario came after the pronouncement of President Rodrigo Duterte that he is already scrapping the peace talks with the Communist Party of the Philippines, and he wants all NDF peace consultants that were given temporary liberty to be back in prison. Colonel Erwin Bernard Neri of Task Force Davao said the apprehension was born out of an information they received that a white pickup van will pass by the area boarded by personalities that are subject of arrest warrants. In a statement, Joint Task Force Haribon Commander Brigadier General Gilbert Gapay said the subject of the operation was Roderick Mamuyak, who has a standing warrant for murder. Mamuyak is a liaison officer of the Southern Regional Committee of the New People's Army. It just so happened that Arbitrario was with Mamuyak.
Not until 4 p.m., gistorya nila ang lawyer namo og nagpresent og warrant of arrest to a certain alias Coco. So gina-consider ni sa mo lawyer na usa ka general na warrant of arrest without any description kinsa si alias Coco, but then they are pointing it to Roderick Mamuyak, which is ang isa sa kauban karon ni Ariel Arbitrario.
The CIDG has not yet issued a statement on the incident. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Davao City.
Some lawmakers appealed to President Rodrigo Duterte to pursue peace talks with the National Democratic Front of the Philippines. Nel Maribohok will tell us why.
Some Solons have expressed their support for President Rodrigo Duterte's suspension of peace negotiations with the National Democratic Front of the Philippines. This after the series of reported attacks by the New People's Army or NPA on government ground troops amid the ongoing peace talks. On the other hand, some lawmakers believe that President Duterte should consider resolving other issues.
Peace talk should continue. Maraming mga dapat i-resolve sa ground. The more important thing to do right now is siguro i-address ng ating gobyerno yung mga injustice.
Meanwhile, the Vice Chairman of the House Committee on Peace, Reconciliation and Unity and Bayan Muna Representative Carlos Zarate believes the President should pursue peace talks with the communist group.
I'm appealing and I'm calling on all people of goodwill, no? Na instead of saying we will just abandon the peace process, it is even the proper time, no, the right time that we call on both parties, no, if they can negotiate a bilateral ceasefire agreement on February, good.
According to the Solon, during the 1992 to 1998 peace talks with the NDF, negotiations were continuous without the interim ceasefire. He adds that looking at the joint statement of the two parties during the last round of talks in Rome, there is hope for the signing of a bilateral ceasefire.
Dito sa nakaraang third round of talks, hindi sarado ang dalawang panig na magkaroon ng bilateral ceasefire.
Because of these provisions and scenarios, Congressman Zarate says the two parties should be given a chance to settle their differences and disputes. Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, has yet to determine the whereabouts of the 3 soldiers abducted by the New People's Army. Brian De Paz will tell us why.
Military operations against the New People's Army or NPA continue following the lifting of the government's unilateral ceasefire and the suspension of peace talks. AFP Public Affairs Office Chief Colonel Edgar Arevalo says they have intensified their rescue operations for the 3 soldiers kidnapped by the NPA. The military is currently coordinating with local government units to locate the whereabouts of the enlisted AFP personnel.
Kanina kausap ko ang battalion commander ni PFC Salan at ayon sa kanyang impormasyon, at least for PFC Salan, buhay pa si PFC Salan. So balik ang kanyang whereabouts ay hindi natukoy sa ngayon, but still they are talking to people in the locality.
The NPA currently has 3,700 members, mostly in northeastern Mindanao. AFP believes their operations against other rebel groups in Mindanao will not be affected by their efforts to pursue members of the NPA since they have sufficient force. The AFP says it won't also affect their new campaign against terrorism.
Wala itong epekto sa ating ginagawang conduct ng operation sa Sulu, Basilan, and Tawi-Tawi against the terrorist group of Abu Sayyaf and other terror groups in central Mindanao, because we have sufficient personnel, equipment, and units.
Likewise, Arevalo asserts that they will follow the directive of the president to arrest even the consultants of the rebel group. However, AFP says they respect and follow the process mandated under the Joint Agreement on Safety and Immunity Guidance, or JASI.
It is a signal for us to be able to report to the president or to report to the higher headquarters what they know of their whereabouts. We understand the president. We support him. He has already given all what he can.
This morning, authorities arrested an NDF consultant in Sirawan, Toril, Davao City, along with a member of the NPA with standing warrant of arrest for murder charges. The consultant is identified as Ariel Arbitrario, alias Marlon, and the NPA member as Roderick Mamuyak, alias Kaloy, who is believed to be the regional liaison officer of the Southern Mindanao Regional Committee of NPA. Alias Kaloy is currently facing murder charges. Brian De Paz, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Aguinaldo.